views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, this is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Welcome to my show. Today, my special guest is Monica Miller of Citizens for a Pro-Life Society. And she is also with Red Rose Rescue. So we'll talk about those. You are in the trenches of the abortion battle. What does that mean, dear?
Well, I've been involved in the pro-life movement since 1976, and I very quickly got involved in pro-life activism, especially when I met Joseph Scheidler of the Pro-Life Action League in Chicago. And so do a lot of sidewalk counseling. We're helping a lot of moms, pickets and demonstrations to draw attention to the issue of abortion. And I've participated in a number of rescues back to 1978. So it's been a while.
Do you know personally of people who had abortion? Did you manage to help them?
Yeah, we've talked a lot of women out of abortions. And I'm still helping some moms even many years later. And I actually have been in contact with two of the babies, and they're not babies anymore, from the moms that I turned away from a clinic in Chicago and also a clinic in Milwaukee. And kind of ironically, they're both named Darius. And one of them is 40 years old and the other one is 23 years old.
Well, we here in Fort Wayne have Planned Parenthood here.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. They send out their, quote, customers, patients, whatever, to other parts of Indiana or another state. And they do chemical.
Uh-huh.
I don't know when that started, the chemical stuff, but really, that's really going below the belt. I mean, really, that's, abortion is nothing but an acute child abuse.
Mm. Right. I think it's the worst injustice that could ever be committed. I mean, you're dealing with a completely helpless, completely innocent, vulnerable, the most helpless and vulnerable human beings on the planet, and they can't escape. They're trapped. If the mom wants to get an abortion, the only recourse, unfortunately, if abortion happens to be legal in the state where you live, the only thing you can do is try to talk the mom out of it. And that's why sidewalk counseling is very, very important. And then the pregnancy help centers are very, very important.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We have a Hope Center here and several other pro-life A Mother's Hope.
Mm.
And what's that Women's League? No. Women's Health Center.
Where are you located?
I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh, okay. All right.
And we got a lot of mixed up people here.
Well, I have a little story about Fort Wayne.
Tell me.
Well, you may be familiar with Ulrich Klopfer.
Yes, I know.
Okay. So, and I let me put in a shameless plug for my book.
Oh. Beautiful.
Abandoned: The Untold Story of the Abortion Wars. Tan Books published it in 2012. Dinesh D'Souza said it's the best book ever written on abortion. I mean, we didn't have to pay him to say that.
Wow,
So,
that's strong.
but I talk about an episode in my pro-life activism, getting back to the Fort Wayne Women's Health Organization,
Mhm.
where Klopfer used to do his abortions. And in 1988, we found out that a pathology lab in Northbrook, Illinois, was receiving the bodies of aborted babies from all over the United States, all the way from as far west as Fargo, North Dakota, to all the way to the east, Fairfield, New Jersey, and so on. So we started to retrieve the boxes of the aborted babies off of the loading dock of this pathology lab. And so I talk about this in my book. And we knew exactly where these babies had been aborted, because the abortion centers were shipping the bodies in parcel post boxes, and the return labels were on the boxes. So one of the clinics that was contracting with this laboratory, was the Fort Wayne clinic, where Klopfer was doing his murders. And we buried quite a few of the babies that he aborted. So I that's how I know about Ulrich Klopfer. Of course, he is deceased now. I think he died a couple of years ago. But there was, you may recall, Patty, there was a huge scandal upon his death.
Right.
I think he actually lived in Illinois, across the border from.
I don't know. I don't remember now. It's been a while.
And I can't remember the name of the town, but it was close to the border between, Illinois and Indiana. And so he died, and his family goes into the house to, take care of, closing things up. And they find thousands of bodies of aborted babies that he had stockpiled on his property. And also in a private parking lot where he had a car, I think it was a Mercedes actually, and they found babies there in the trunk of that car. It was a huge scandal. So nobody really could understand why would he be doing that, but unless he was just so cheap that he didn't want to pay for a medical waste company to come and pick up the bodies. So, that's my acquaintance with Ulrich Klopfer from Indiana.
So tell me more about Abandoned: The Untold Stories of the Abortion Wars.
Well, it's a history of pro-life activism, in which I was involved from 1976 through the year of 1994, essentially.
Yeah.
It basically ends with the passage, with the signing of the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which happened in May of 1994. So I felt very strongly that I needed to chronicle my experiences, as you would say, down in the trenches. And so the book chronicles some of our sidewalk counseling experiences, the rescues that we did in the 1970s into the early 1990s, the court trials that we endured, the convictions that we received.
You went to jail?
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I've served 4 different jail terms.
Oh shoot.
The most recently in 2023, here in Michigan, for a Red Rose rescue that we did here in Michigan. And then I talk about finding the bodies of the aborted babies, of the photography that we did, and the burials that we organized for the victims of abortion. So that's what the book is basically about. So people have told me that my book has changed their lives. They never can go back.
Girl.
Yeah. So again, if people want to get a copy of it, you can go to my website, which is
I like to get one.
Pardon?
I like to get one.
Yeah, it's prolifesociety.com, no hyphens, prolifesociety.com, and right at the top of the homepage is a link where you can order the book from the publisher. All right.
Red Rose Rescue. What is that, dear?
Red Rose Rescue. Okay, so a little history here. When Clinton signed the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, it turned basically what is, sit-in activity, and people would sit down in front of the doors to abortion centers in order to defend the unborn. It was completely peaceful, very passive activity, ultimately, sitting down in front of the door. Mm-hmm. So, back in the day, if you refused to leave when the police came and ordered you to get out, move or whatever, and you didn't do it, you would only face maybe a city ticket or a state misdemeanor charge. So Operation Rescue was up and running towards the end of the 1980s with the leader, Randall Terry, putting that together. So in any case, Clinton signs the Space Act in 1994, and he turns basically a sit-in activity into if you get charged with FACE, you're convicted of a felony. You go to federal prison. So that had a very detrimental effect on what was arguably the largest, most vigorous social justice movement in the history of this country. In any case, some of us leaders in 2017 of this century wanted to get together and discuss whether it was desirable and whether it was feasible to revive the rescues. And so we had a meeting, and and I had been actually thinking about this for literally years. And I thought maybe there's a way to do a rescue, but without breaking the FACE Act. And I think maybe even improve our method. And so we came up with Red Rose Rescue, and what's the difference between a Red Rose Rescue and what we may say the traditional rescue is. In a Red Rose Rescue, we don't block anything. We don't stand in front of doors. We don't sit in front of entrances. We don't block hallways. We don't block people. So everyone has still freedom, physical freedom of movement, and we've avoided face charges as a consequence of that. So if people want to take a look at Red Rose Rescue, we have a beautiful website and a Facebook page, a very active Facebook page. So redroserescue.com, simple, redroserescue.com. And, now that Trump has been elected, there's been significant developments. He pardoned 23 rescuers who were convicted of the FACE Act on January 24th,
right,
just before the March for Life. And some of those rescuers were serving lengthy prison terms because of their being convicted of the FACE Act. Now they conducted what we would call now the traditional rescue, they did a sit-in and they blocked the doors. And so here's the thing. They expected that they would be probably charged with the FACE Act because they were blocking ingress and egress according to the language of the act. And that would have carried at most 6 months to a year at the maximum. But the very weaponized Department of Justice under Biden, the Department of Justice brought an additional charge, and the additional charge was literally unprecedented in the history of abortion and the pro-life movement. The additional charge was conspiracy to interfere with civil rights. And it carried
babies don't have civil rights.
well, at that time, unfortunately, with under Roe v. Wade, a woman's decision to get an abortion was a civil right in any case. But that law carries a maximum 10-year jail term, federal prison,
right,
and a $350,000 fine. So the pro-lifers are convicted, and many of them were literally in federal prison. Lauren Handy had the longest sentence, and her sentence was almost 5 years.
Wow.
4 years and 9 months. So Trump pardoned all of them. We're very grateful for that, grateful to God. And in addition, let me add, under this crazy Department of Justice, with Merrick Garland, the U.S. Attorney General appointed by Biden, they were trying to find a way to come after Red Rose rescuers as well, even though we don't violate the FACE Act. So
pro-life they go after.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what was happening. And so the Department of Justice in early 2024, in January, issued complaints against myself and 6 other rescuers, Red Rose Rescue, and my group, Citizens for a Pro-Life Society, for FACE violations. They were alleging that these were FACE violations from 2 rescues that we did in Ohio in June of 2021. Oh, and it was a civil suit, which, by the way, not a criminal. So it was a federal FACE case civil suit, which tells you that they knew that they were in a weaker position.
They were harassing you guys.
Oh, yeah. So
Really?
thankfully we had great attorneys.
That's right.
From the Thomas More Society.
Thomas More, I interviewed the guy.
Thomas More Society and the American Freedom Law Center, Robert Muse. Well, on the day of the march, and I was at the march, while the march is literally going on, I got a call from my attorney, Martin Cannon, from the Thomas More Society, saying that the new administration of the Department of Justice is dismissing the cases. So praise God. that was, and I was, to receive that call while I was on the March for Life was a very great gift. So yeah.
And you know something? Everything Biden did was to try to destroy life in his own country. I noticed that. And what Trump did was reverse everything that Biden done.
He's reversing all the
Evil.
pro-death policies of the Biden administration.
Is the Democratic Party all think that way as Biden? Or is it just their leaders? I don't know.
I certainly the majority of those active in the Democratic Party believe in legalized abortion and advocate for it. Now, there is a group called Democrats for Life. I mean, I don't see any significant change happening there, except to say this. I think it wouldn't be ridiculous to say that right now, with the defeat of Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party is in shambles. They have no leaders. They are recognized now, I think, as extremely left-wing with some of their policies. They advocate abortion on demand for the full 9 months of pregnancy, very contrary to all of the polls that are taken that the American public wants at least some limits on abortion. But we do have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do.
The Biden administration, whatever you call it, they are after all life in the United States and around the world to make everybody kill their babies. That's my cat. To kill their babies. Also in Canada, where I'm from, euthanasia, assisted suicide,
Right.
abortion up to 9. What's going on? Death culture. How in the world did that stupid thing start? In what year? Back in the 50s, 60s? What? I know, way before the Egyptians, they sacrificed.
Well, you can pretty much trace the development of legalized abortion to a change in sexual behavior. Because once you separated sexual activity from its life-giving meaning, then the unborn child is viewed as an outsider, viewed as an intruder. And so abortion is needed in order to get back into control, to reverse the process of life. And then you can add the radical, I'll use the word radical feminist movement, believes that abortion is necessary for women to have the same freedoms, if you will, self-determination as a man.
That doesn't work very well, does it?
Well, what I say is this: the sexual freedom that a man has. I mean, he can literally walk away, right, from his baby, and unfortunately, that's a very, very big problem, especially I think in the African American community, where there's a lot of begetting of children, but very little actual fathering of those children.
Margaret Sanger didn't help.
So, that's why abortion, the killing of unborn children, is a very, very unique kind of murder, because it's inherently connected to sexual activity, and is the consequence, really, I argue, of a perverted, if you will, sexual ethic. And really, if 89%, those are the statistics. And I did an article about this. I think it was Crisis Magazine. It might have been Catholic World Report. I think it was published in Crisis Magazine. What really causes the majority of abortions, at least in the United States, 89% of all abortions are done on unborn children who are conceived outside of the bond of marriage.
Since we mucked it up, the inner core of the family.
Exactly. And so you fix that problem, the abortion industry would shut down. They wouldn't have enough customers.
Education, girl.
Education. Right. That, dare I say, sex is for marriage.
Yes.
And you need to be ready when you get married to accept children in your marriage.
That's gone by the wayside.
The child is not an intruder into your life, but a God-given natural result of your married love. And
blessing.
What is everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody on earth wants to be welcomed and wants to be accepted. And abortion is the complete opposite of welcoming and accepting other people. And
That's
so that has
scary.
it has to start in the womb.
Reverse.
Yeah.
Dang. How do we get in touch with our beautiful United States and Canada to tell them, what are you doing? You're destroying your own kind, humankind turning in on each other. It's Satan, I tell you now. Satan's doing all that, rejecting and turning us humans inside out and away from the Lord himself. That's we need to have God back in.
Well, that's exactly the key to the whole thing is that the church has to preach this truth. And once you have Catholics and Christians really living their and honoring the meaning of their human sexuality in the way that God has designed it, this will infiltrate into our culture. Then you're going to see a change.
Girl, education.
Education.
You got to spread the word, girl.
Yeah.
So what would you like to say to my audience to give them hope, knowing the way the earth?
Well, the hope is, first of all, we have the truth. And not only, the truth, but we have scientific truth. And I think now that we're in the post-Roe in America, right? We're in the Dobbs era. And I think I can say the pro-life movement was not ready for Dobbs. Now, of course, we wanted Roe v. Wade to be overturned, whether we were ready or not. Okay, it's an evil, unjust law. But now that what we see very clearly, especially with these state referendums that are going the pro-abortion way, most of them, not all, but most of them, we need to educate. We should be having TV ads, billboards, yard signs, literature distributions, seminars,
and
press
compassion.
conferences about the humanity of the unborn child. Abortion is killing someone. And that's why it has to be opposed. So people need to have a revived conscience that abortion kills other people and show the pictures. And so we need some very, very serious educational programs, public educational programs that abortion kills people. And then you'll see a shift in the way people vote, because their conscience will be aroused.
Let the conscience be your guide. The Lord is the truth, And I would love to work with you in the Red Rose Rescue in the future.
Okay, well, that'd be great. Maybe we'll come to Indiana.
Okay, that'd be great. I'm in Fort Wayne.
Okay, God bless you.
Okay, God bless you. Monica Miller of Citizens for Pro-Life Society and Red Rose Rescue. Thank you, and God bless, and we'll see you next week, people. Enjoy the week, and may God bless you and keep you in the palms of his holy hands. Thank you.
Godspeed, my love, until